Hello, welcome to my major project presentation. I'll give you an introduction. In this presentation, I will be discussing the practical methodology, the motivation and the challenges of writing, recording and producing an album for my band. I use the term album loosely because as of this time, I have no intention of releasing this body of work as an album. Fiasco is a rock band with a rich tapestry of influences reflecting those of my upbringing. Fiasco primarily draws influence from rock and blues, and to a lesser extent, Indian funk. Blues rock has seen a huge resurgence and revival over recent years, with bands such as the Black Keys, Rival Sons, Royal Blood achieving global success. This style of music tends to be uplifting, passionate, and fun, for live audiences often paying homage to its predecessors in a more familiar and nostalgic form, as well as drawing on modern influences and studio technology for its composition and production, which help bring it to the forefront of contemporary music. This joining of elements is a great source of creativity and thus inspiration, commented on in West's Art of Songwriting. He considers creativity to involve the forming of new combinations of conjoining elements that were previously considered independent and dissimilar. As Fiasco, we intend to fill the Welsh niche of this blues rock revival, at present focusing on Cardiff. Energy is the focus of our band, as we want the audience to sing catchy melodies, dance to catchy riffs and rhythms, and generally to have fun, enjoying themselves to the point that they want to return to watch us play again. At this point in time, a major objective of Fiasco is expanding our following, and this can be done by generating hype around the band, which brings me back to my original point about using the term album. Unfortunately, in the current social climate, a string of singles and EPs tend to generate more consistent hype than an album, which may generate a lot more hype in the short term but may lack the longevity of a string of releases. Therefore, the function of this body of work is to provide the foundation for our single and EP releases to be released in a series of campaigns. The album subject matter. A lot of the album has a running theme of becoming single and glorifying single life and freedom, which appeals to the widest audiences of listeners, as the best-selling songs statistically likely to be romantic, but not ballads, so not all lovey-dovey. But that's according to Joe Bennett's chapter in the Art of Musical Composition. Recording methodology. All of the electric guitars were recorded with a blend of an AKG 414 and an SM57, one either side of the speaker halfway between the center and the edge to balance the high frequency of the center and the warmer tones towards the edge of the speaker, as Bill Gibson recommends in his book Sound Advice on Microphone Techniques. The signal would then be duplicated, one fed into an amp simulator, the other left dry, and then I'd blend the two for the desired tone. The vocals were recorded on an AKG 414 or an SM7B. A Vox AC15 was used to record the lead guitar lines to give it that nice high clarity metallic shimmer, which is capable of cutting through a mix. And Mustang 3s and 4s were used to record rhythm guitar parts, which tend to have a bolder mid and low end frequency in comparison with the Vox. The bass guitar was DI'd and then put through one or more amp simulators to fine-tune the desired tone. An AKG 414 was used to record all of the acoustic guitar parts, which feature in several songs, mic'd 2 inches or so away from the guitar, just below where the fretboard meets the main body of the guitar, to balance the high-end twang of the strings with the low-end bass of the sound hole. In practice, I've used Bill Gibson's configuration of 3 mics simultaneously on the same guitar to try and capture the strings, the sound hole, and the body of the guitar closer to the bridge to blend to get the perfect tone. I was more than happy with how they'd sound from one AKG 414. This was just placed where the bridge meets the body of the guitar. The Abbey Road drum plugin, as well as Logic's Drummer, were used to emulate drums. These drum tracks were almost entirely constructed from scratch in MIDI with very little exception. And sometimes I used both of those drummer plugins and blended the two tones to find something I like. So, hit songwriting technique. Most hit songwriting techniques adhere to conformist norms that began developing during the late 20th century, standardization in the Tin Pan Alley, such as the 3-minute song, everything in 4/4 in phrases of 4, 8, and 16 bars, as well as the dominance at first of AABA and then ABAB song structure, according to Wall. Okay, the first song on the album is Fever Dream. Fever Dream is a brand new song, completed this summer and not yet played to a live audience. It's supposed to be fun, high-octane, attention-grabbing song that utilizes a balance of familiarity, contrast, and overridden guitar tones to achieve this. It is one of the 2 songs on the album that has psychedelic influences. It is an action-packed story of seduction. The title and the lyric Fever Dream come from the fact I get extremely vivid and immersive, sometimes story-driven fever dreams when I do have a fever, that can be real adventures in themselves. And I enjoy toying with the idea that you could get similarly lost in the same manner as a kiss. I really enjoyed writing and producing this track, and I very much look forward to exploring this style further. I removed the introduction on this song to make it conform to a more commercial setting, and this also brings the chorus in well under a minute. Song 2, the second song on the album, is Whiskey. Whiskey is my take on the classic blues style of writing, melodically, harmonically, and lyrically, including a punchline or 2. I try to humorously present, trivialize, and borderline celebrate a bad drinking habit into something people can sing along to, drink along to, and laugh about. After a meeting with Matt Evans, he discussed with me that there was little contrast in this song. I acted upon this by extending the end of verse 2 to draw focus to a joke. I tried to keep the feel of the recording for this song like it was a lo-fi live show by trying to create depth in the stereo field and trying to emulate live guitar and vocal tones. Song 3, the third song on the album, is Read Between There. Read Between There is a song that has been continuously written and rewritten since last winter. I see the potential in the song, but I still don't think it's quite there. In reflection on this, I think what it needs is a fresh pair of ears, because I've been working on it too long, and I would like to open it up to collaboration in the future. It has been a slow process of trying to concentrate a concise narrative into the rhythmically poetic framework set out for the song. The rhythmic framework refers to the fact that Read Between There has dactylic heptameters verses, with emphasis on internal rhymes, alliteration, and other literary patterns within the song in order to make the large amounts of information in the lyrics to be more memorable and digestible. The lyrics talk about how paranoia in a relationship caused by a tiny spark can grow and eventually destroy a relationship. After discussing the title with Matt, he felt that it was cliche. In order to counter this, I removed the word line from the title to subvert the listener's expectation, as well as creating a prosody for the listener by making them extrapolate the title and therefore partially reading between the lines. I also got rid of the introduction on this song to bring the chorus in earlier. Song 4. The fourth song is Out of Bloom. Out of Bloom was composed by myself and Archie Orridge Dubois. He studies BA Music Business at USW and is the guitarist for Fiasco. It was written on a night where myself and Archie had not had a writing session for roughly 2 months, and was actually one of 5 songs that came out of that songwriting session. All the ideas that we accumulated for 2 months finally manifested themselves in that night, which is, I think, why we were so productive. This was co-written from a different angle. Archie had written 70% of the music and had a song title, Out of Bloom. After he played me the main riff, which is heard in the introduction and outro of the song, as well as hearing the title, for some reason, it reminded me of a girl I used to know, who is sadly no longer with us. I'd been meaning to write something about it for a few years, but it never felt right until I heard the music that Archie played. Later that night, I went home and wrote the lyrics and melody to Out of Bloom. I then went back to Archie, where we tightened up some of the lines. The song deliberately delivers its message partially cryptically, because I didn't want to Fiasco's audiences to know what it's about on the first or second listens, because Fiasco's meant to be fun and uplifting. When recording and mixing this track, I went for a large, almost ethereal open space feel for prosody with the subject matter. Also to note is the early double chorus on the second chorus, and then the deliberate lack of lyrics on the third chorus. This lack of lyrics on the third chorus highlights the feeling of absence, which reflects the context of the song. The advice I took from this was, when it comes to creative process, it is effective to allow some time and space between co-writers to allow ideas to accumulate. Song 5. The fifth song is Betty Gray. Betty Gray was composed by myself and Megan Borges on this MA course. This song is another homage to blues and the old-fashioned style of storytelling within an AAA form song, which is less prevalent in contemporary music. The song tells a story of a seductive and destructive femme fatale who encourages the protagonist to engage in criminal activity in order to win her love. After carrying out such activity, she then frames him and runs off with the stolen money. Although the protagonist's situation worsens over the duration of the song, by the end of the song he shows no regret, and he is simply grateful for the time he has spent with Betty Gray, which is a testament to her seductive power. When recording and mixing this track, I try to keep recording feeling loose and live to have prosody with its folk and bluesy style. Song 6. The sixth song is Break Their Wings. Break Their Wings is the other song with some psychedelic influences. It was first written by Archie Dubois, who approached me and asked me to edit it and try to give it some more narrative. Break Their Wings is a song which contemplates the restraints of modern life and society, entrapping its members and limiting social and economic movement. Written from the perspective of someone who has surrendered to defeatism and eventually leads to nihilistic acceptance of the world as it is. From a production point of view, I tried to approach the psychedelic vibe to reflect the lyrics. The repetition of the main hook is an attempt to hammer in the catchiness, which while the mid-8 brings in the much-needed contrast. Song 7. The seventh song is titled Fantasy and was originally written when I had the idea for the opening hook. At this time, I was writing a lot of music with the emphasis on crowd participation, and to the rest of the song follows that idea. Essentially, it's written as a sing-along. When it came to producing Fantasy, I had a brilliant time creating a driven rock song with intricate little details, a high dynamic range, and crowd vocals. On a side note, it was my first time having crowd vocals on one of my tracks, which I've always wanted to do and looked forward to doing for a while, and it's really nice to see that idea become reality when you hear it through your headphones. On this song, again, the chorus comes in earlier, and there's regular repeats of the same thematic material to entice the familiarity of the listener. However, I do believe that there is an adequate balance of contrast with contrasting thematic material in the song. There's like 3 main themes. Song 8. Song 8 is Animal, of which I also wrote with the idea of a crowd pleaser in mind. With the audience participation implied on the haze in the chorus and the simple melody, which is easy to sing along to. Animal is a song about embracing your wild side, your inner animal, and your freedom. When recording and mixing this track, I went for a big rock sound, as there were enough instruments and vocals to cover large areas of the stereo field. Animal has a halved first verse to bring the chorus in early again. I really didn't want to cut the intro on this one because I love it and it's cool. Song 9. Tomorrow is the 9th song. Tomorrow is a classic pop-punk ABAB. Strictly speaking, this isn't really a Fiasco song. Myself and Archie Orridge Dubois did write this due to our mutual guilty pleasure of classic pop-punk. We have been leaving it out of the Fiasco sets as it doesn't quite fit in with the bluesy aesthetic of the rest of the songs. It's a song about life as a student, trying to get by with no money, but finding comfort in those around you. Nonetheless, I did enjoy writing this song, and I still enjoy performing it. When it came to producing this song, I tried to match the pop-punk vibes. Because of this pop-punk saturation, I believe this song conforms to the hit-making mindset. Song 10, the 10th song, last song, is Beautiful Life. Much like Tomorrow, Beautiful Life is about finding comfort in your friends and the gestures, big or small, during hard times. However, unlike Tomorrow, it's set to a slow blues AABA, which helps it fit with the theme of the album. Also, I wanted to end the album with a small acoustic track to kind of relax everyone after quite a heavy rock album. When it came to producing this song, I tried to keep it very minimal and ambient. In conclusion, I believe the project increased the quality of my song lyrics and increased my proficiency as a recording engineer and producer. From this experience, I learned to better my skill as a recording engineer and producer, but more importantly, this is the first time when I've gone back to my previous written works and edited a lot of lines in them to really improve the quality of my portfolio. And I think that this skill of going back to edit work, which I know needs improvement, is going to be crucial to my ongoing career as a songwriter. To evaluate the major project, if I was to carry out this major project again, I would write more material which has a better ratio towards contrast to keep the listeners engaged. I would also give myself more time to record vocals, as my voice is not spectacular and it took far more takes to comp than I had anticipated. I encountered many problems, such as the lack of a drummer, as the Fiasco drummer left while I was recording this album. We have found a new one now. I overcame this by learning from Matthew Evans how to use the Abbey Road drum plugin in Logic to synthesize a pretty convincing drum emulation. Another challenge was organizing the featured artists on the album, who are Archie Dubois, Fiasco's guitarist, George Law, Fiasco's bassist, and all of the gang vocalists. I did this by timetabling the sessions in advance to a clear recording schedule. Thank you very much for listening. That's all. I hope you enjoyed the album.